Good morning, this is the Cajun Kane here, and today we will be going over the Miami Hurricanes schedule, and we will be going over wins and losses and why I think the Canes are going to be good this year. All right, here's the schedule. I know you're looking at this thing. Why is Miami going 11-1? And here's the thing. We're going to go game by game. I'm gonna tell the score prediction and why it's a win or loss, or why I think it's going to be close. And yeah, man, let's get into it. Let's kick things off. Week 1 at Gainesville, primetime game, 3:30 Eastern kickoff. The Miami Hurricanes are traveling to Florida, even though fans are downplaying the Florida Gators and their situation in Gainesville. And the recruiting, the Jaden Rashada, whatever the hell you want to put it, situation down in Gainesville. I still think this game's going to be close. For some reason, it's just hard to go down in the swamp and just play Florida, just because their fans are rowdy as fuck. And their fans just, I don't know, man. It's very chaotic in the swamp. But I do have Miami winning this game in a close one, about a 31-28 type of game. This is going to be the type of game that Miami gets their kinks worked out for the season. Even though I think it's going to take one game for that to happen, Miami's going to be a player-led team. I think it's not going to really fall as much on coaching as it did the past 2 seasons with Miami, just simply because of the fact that Mario brought in such good talent, and the camaraderie in the locker room is there. The culture is there, and how the players handle themselves in the locker room and how they handle themselves on the field has been a tremendous difference from last season. And that's why I think Miami's going to beat Florida. Is they're just the better team all around, more physical up front in the trenches, and Miami has more skills in the outside with the weapons like Sam Brown, transfer from Houston, Jacoby George returning, Xavier Restrepo. You got guys like Isaiah Horton that can go really get vertical on the inside. There is such a depth that Miami has that just Florida cannot just defend, I don't think. But it's just going to come down to who's getting the defensive stops more in crucial moments of the game, and the penalties are going to be very heavily involved with this game because it's a rivalry. And I also want to point this out. I have on the bottom right of the screen before we move on to week 2. I think week 1 is going to decide the morale of the team going forward, meaning win or lose. So if we win, team morale is going to be extremely high, through the roof. If we lose, it's going to push the team morale down, and we may go down with a season that we don't want. So I think this game is going to be very, very important for the Miami Hurricanes. Now, moving forward, let's go with week 2 versus FAMU at home in the Hard Rock Stadium. This should be an easy win for Cam Ward and the boys. Miami's more physical up front in the trenches. The outside's there. The running back room is there with Damian Martinez. I think Miami's going to run all over FAMU. This is going to be a domination from start to finish. Give me Miami 52-3 here. And let's go on with week 3. I think as the Miami Hurricanes will take on Ball State at home. I think this is going to be another big win for the Canes here. I think Miami's going to win this game 50-13, somewhere in that corridor. I think they're going to score a touchdown and 2 field goals, unfortunately. But, yeah, I got the Miami Hurricanes with a big win in week 3 before they go travel to USF. Now let's take a look at week 4 here. As you see, I have a potential trap game in parentheses here for the USF Bulls. And the reason I have it as a trap game is because it's going to be traveled to Tampa Bay. We're still in Florida, but I think this game is going to be close, just like it was for USF versus Alabama last season. If you remember that game, it was Tyler Buckner and Alabama that was in that game, and they couldn't get nothing going. But I'm not saying that's going to happen for the Canes here. There's so many distractions that can happen. But I just think that the Miami Hurricanes are going to come out on top, though. I think it's going to be like a 38-21 type of game. And just overall, the fact that they have to travel to Tampa and play in another NFL stadium with another team who's on the rise in the Conference USA or American, I don't know which conference they're in. I forgot. But USF's on the rise. I really like what they did, ending the season on a high note against Syracuse. But, yeah, I think this game's going to be a potential trap game for many reasons. But, yeah, I got the Miami Hurricanes winning this game. Let's go on to Week 5. Alrighty, we are in Week 5. The Miami Hurricanes are going to be taking on Virginia Tech back at home in the Hard Rock Stadium. The Miami Hurricanes are now 4-0 moving into this game against the Virginia Tech Hokies. And with this game, the Miami Hurricanes, they're coming in with their heads hot, right? Moving 4 games, 4-0. You beat Florida, you beat FAMU, you beat Ball State, you beat USF. All right? You're still in Florida. You're taking on an ACC team now. ACC play has started. You're taking on the Hokies at home. They're saying that the Hokies are going to be better this coming season with Kyron Drones and that Virginia Tech offense. I think it's going to come down to the physicality of the trenches and who has more explosive plays. But I have Miami winning this game pretty comfortably, 34-17. And let's move on to Week 6. Miami versus Cal. We're going out to Cal before our bye week. And Miami is the better team here. But knowing Mario Cristobal and that coaching staff, I feel like it's going to come down to a coaching debacle or something in order for Miami to lose this game. But I have Miami winning this game pretty soundly as well. I think Miami's going to beat Cal 27-10. But in order for that to happen, Miami has to dominate the lines of scrimmage, both sides of the ball. Cam Ward has to dish it out to Isaiah Horton, Xavier Restrepo, Sam Brown. You know what I'm saying? Jacoby George as well. Handing the ball out to Damian Martinez and Mark Fletcher. And you have to dominate the ground game on a team like Cal that's coming from the Pac-12, which was a run-heavy and pass game. This is the kind of team that you don't necessarily want to play around with, kind of like Georgia Tech. This is kind of like their Super Bowl, if you will. This is going to be the game that they're going to put everything on the line for to possibly ruin your season. This is why I think this game can be a problem. But I think Miami's going to soundly win this game 27-10. And with that being said, Miami gets their first bye week of the season before they head to Louisville to play the Louisville Cardinals in Week 7. And I know you're looking at that and you see Louisville as a loss, but before we do, let's recap a little bit of the season going 6 weeks in. Miami is 6-0, and you're heading to Louisville, which is another top 10, top 15 type of caliber team with Jeff Brom and the Louisville Cardinals after they're coming off of a ACC championship runner-up. And they come in with a top 15 portal class in the spring window and a pretty damn good recruiting class as well. I think Louisville's going to be just as good as they were last season. And I think Louisville gets the best of the Hurricanes, 34-31, and a shootout. I just don't think Miami's defense is going to hold off the final 2 minutes of the game and keep Louisville from scoring that last touchdown to take the lead to win with the final 2 minutes left in that game. So Miami is now 6-1 on the season. And let's go to Week 8 where the Miami Hurricanes will be at home against the Florida State Seminoles. I think Miami's going to win this game pretty soundly. Florida State lost a lot of key players to the draft, the transfer portal, you name it. Florida State is just not the same team they were a year ago. And yes, Georgia did whoop your ass 63-3. And yes, injuries happen. Yes, opt-outs are going to happen. I understand that. We're not going to get into that game. You got your ass whooped in the worst bowl loss in college football history. And I just don't think Florida State's going to be as good of a team, as physical of a team, as in the air, punch you in the face type of team as they were last season. They were really good on the ground game. I don't think it's going to be nearly as dominant as it was last season. So I think Miami's going to win this game 34-20 at home. And let's go on to week 9. The game that I think is going to be a real trap game because of the fact we're playing at home against Duke, against Manny Diaz. And it's going to be a big game for both schools. You know, Manny Diaz is playing his former team that he coached, and he's playing the coach that replaced him. Now, that being said, Miami is bigger on the trenches. They can beat you on the outside. They can beat you on the ground. They're very physical. They're very strong. They're very tough. I think Miami's going to win this game 41-20. I just think it's going to be close up until halftime, and then after halftime, Miami's just going to run away with it. And with that being said, week 10 at Georgia Tech. At Georgia Tech. A year ago, the Canes lost in arguably the worst way possible. All you had to do was take a knee. We get that. And no excuses. I think Miami this season is not going to leave this game close by any means. I think Miami is going to go into Bobby Dodd Stadium and just pour it all out on them. It's not going to be close. I think Miami is going to pour it on them 37-10. And going into the bye week before they got to play Wake Forest in week 11. I think that Georgia Tech game is just gonna be a debacle. I think it's just gonna deteriorate Georgia Tech as a team. They're gonna use that game as a Super Bowl like they did last season. But Miami's just gonna debacle them so bad they're gonna struggle the rest of the way. But going into week 11 after the bye week, Miami now sits at, I think it is 9-1 after the bye week. Oh my God, what? A bye week? Yes, I know. We have 2. Everybody does. New season, new college football playoff. Everybody gets 2 bye weeks. They had to push the season to start 1 week earlier, or whatever the case was. But we're here, week 11, Miami versus Wake Forest at home in Hard Rock. Last home game of the season. I think it's going to be in a domination. Wake Forest was not the same team as they were when Sam Hartman left Wake Forest. That being said, I think Miami's going to whoop their ass 41-17 in a big blowout game headed into week 12 against Syracuse. And that being said, let's go on with week 12. The Hurricanes are traveling to Syracuse. Some people say this is going to be a trap game. Some people think Syracuse is going to beat Miami. Whatever you put this game as, you can put it as. But I think Miami is going to win this game pretty soundly just because of the fact that Miami is more talented and better on paper. I think Miami, coming into this game, their hopes are high. They got the ACC on lock, and they're going to make the ACC championship game. But here's the thing. With that, does that become a distraction? Does that distract the guys from focusing on playing Syracuse and performing at a high level throughout that whole game and to dominate for 4 quarters. Yes, I think it could be a distraction. Totally think it could be a distraction. If you become an ACC championship lock, and that's going to be buzzing around the locker room, right? Miami hasn't been to an ACC championship appearance since 2017, right? So this game is going to be a distraction if players just let that lock to the conference championship distract them from winning the game. But overall, I think Miami wins this game 34-27. I think I said earlier it wasn't going to be close, but I think it's going to be close. Just simply because you're traveling up to New York and it's a long distance travel. And if Miami's a playoff I wouldn't say a playoff lock, but an ACC championship lock, I think that's going to distract them a little bit and hold them from giving them a full dominant win. But yeah, man, that's my season prediction for the Hurricanes. 11-1. And let's also cap this off with notable teams that Miami does not face. Let's start off with SMU. SMU coming off of winning their conference from last season on a really, really high note, going 11-2. North Carolina, they beat Miami last year. North Carolina finished the season 7-5 as well. But Miami and North Carolina has always been a troublesome game, as well as NC State. But yeah, man, those are the notable teams that Miami does not play, and this is why Miami's schedule is very favorable. So if Miami doesn't go 11-1, ring the bell, sound the alarms. Something's going on in Coral Gables that should not be happening. So I think Miami wins 11-1 ceiling, floor 9-3. Thank you for tuning in. Tomorrow I'll have another team out. Goodbye.